My rich cousins Michael and Rebecca made a TikTok series called My Homeless Cousin, a Documentary, that got 2.3 million views while I was sleeping in my 2009 Honda Civic and working 2 jobs to afford community college. They filmed me carrying my laundry across campus, eating dollar menu food in parking lots, and brushing my teeth in gas station bathrooms. The soundtrack was dramatic piano music, like my poverty was their personal entertainment. The worst part wasn't even the videos. It was my Aunt Lisa commenting, "New profile aesthetic," with laughing emojis, while I was literally rationing granola bars to make them last 3 days. My stepdad, Derek, shared it to Facebook saying, "This is what happens when kids don't appreciate family values." Meanwhile, they lived in a $2.8 million house and spent more on wine in a month than I made working 60-hour weeks at Target and night cleaning. But while my family was building their social media empire on my suffering, something else was happening that none of them knew about. Uncle Marcus, quiet tech genius Uncle Marcus, who barely spoke at family gatherings, had been watching everything through his security camera network. Every cruel laugh, every mocking comment, every dollar they spent, while I went hungry. He wasn't just watching me struggle, he was watching them steal, and he'd been building a case that would destroy them all. To understand how we got here, you need to understand my family's idea of fairness. My Aunt Lisa lived in a $2.8 million house with marble countertops and a wine cellar worth more than most people's cars. My stepdad, Derek, drove a different luxury vehicle every year. This year, it was a BMW. Last year, it was a Mercedes, always leased, always black, always with that new car smell that screamed, "I have more money than sense." Meanwhile, I was making $1,200 a month working retail at Target during the day and cleaning office buildings at night, trying to scrape together enough for community college tuition and gas money. But according to family logic, my cousins Michael and Rebecca deserved their designer clothes and spring break trips to Cabo because they were good kids who appreciated what they had. Apparently, struggling builds character, but only for some people. The scapegoat pattern had been established long before the TikTok videos. When I turned 18, my mom decided that adult children were too much responsibility and basically evicted me with 2 weeks' notice. She told everyone I was difficult and ungrateful for not appreciating everything the family had done for me. What had they done for me? Well, they'd graciously allowed me to exist in their presence during holidays. Every family gathering was the same routine. If someone's marriage was failing somehow, it was because I brought negative energy. If the cousins were acting up, it was because I was a bad influence, even though I was usually working during their parties. If someone was stressed about money, it was because they were worried about me and my poor life choices. I was always the problem, never the victim. The official family narrative was that I was lazy and entitled and determined to make everyone else miserable with my drama. The fact that I was working 60 hours a week while they were posting Instagram stories from restaurants that cost more per meal than I made in a week, that was irrelevant. But this time, their cruelty would backfire spectacularly. The one family member who never participated in the scapegoating was Uncle Marcus. Lisa's husband was this quiet, intense guy who owned some kind of tech security company that nobody really understood. He rarely spoke at family gatherings, just sat in the corner nursing a beer and watching everything with these sharp, calculating eyes. The family treated him like he was harmless, just Lisa's weird antisocial husband who made decent money but wasn't fun at parties. They had no idea that Marcus had built his company around surveillance technology, or that his house was basically a fortress of security cameras and digital monitoring equipment. I had no idea he was documenting everything. The TikTok videos started as a joke during Michael's senior year of high school. Rebecca was home from her first semester at a private university that cost more than I'd make in 5 years, and they were bored during winter break. Apparently, filming their homeless cousin living in a car was peak entertainment. My Homeless Cousin, a documentary, became a 12-part series with professional editing, trending hashtags, and dramatic music that made my poverty look like a lifestyle choice. They filmed me at the campus laundromat, eating discount sandwiches in my car, and doing homework by the dome light at midnight. Each episode got hundreds of thousands of views, with Michael providing sarcastic commentary about my interesting living situation. The comments section was a nightmare of armchair psychologists and internet trolls. She probably spends all her money on drugs. This is what happens when millennials expect everything handed to them. Maybe if she got off TikTok and got a real job. The irony was lost on everyone. I wasn't even on TikTok. I was too busy working. The comments were even worse than the videos. But the real gut punch came when I saw my own family encouraging this circus. Aunt Lisa commented, "New profile aesthetic," with crying, laughing emojis on a video of me brushing my teeth in a gas station bathroom. Derek shared it to Facebook with the caption, "This is what tough love looks like." Sometimes kids need to learn life isn't handed to you on a silver platter. When I finally worked up the courage to call Lisa and ask them to take the videos down, she acted like I was being dramatic. "Oh, honey, it's just social media. People love an underdog story. You're like inspiring or whatever. Derek thinks this might actually help you in the long run," she continued. "Character building, plus the engagement is incredible. Rebecca's follower count has tripled." That's when I realized they weren't just heartless, they were criminals. Something started bothering me about the math. Lisa worked part-time at a boutique selling overpriced scarves to bored housewives. Derek managed a small insurance office. Even with Marcus's tech company doing well, how exactly were they affording a lifestyle that looked like it belonged in a reality show? About the super wealthy. I started paying attention during family gatherings. Lisa would casually mention her investment portfolio and side business ventures without ever explaining what those actually were. Derek drove cars that cost more than most people's houses, claiming they were company vehicles from his insurance job. But when I Googled his company, it was a tiny operation with maybe 12 employees. Marcus's tech security business, on the other hand, seemed to have contracts with half the government buildings and major corporations in the state. I'd seen the invoices accidentally left on Lisa's kitchen counter. Amounts with so many zeros, I had to count twice. But here's the thing about those contracts. They all seemed to go through Lisa's consulting business first. The numbers didn't add up. Meanwhile, my cousins were treating my homelessness like their personal content farm. Michael started a homeless cousin update series that posted daily. Rebecca created spin-off content about how not to end up like my cousin, with lifestyle tips and budgeting advice that was rich coming from someone whose credit card bills were paid by daddy. The worst part wasn't even the videos anymore. It was the recognition. Strangers at Target would point and whisper. A customer at the cleaning company asked if I was that girl from TikTok living in her car. One of my professors awkwardly mentioned that she'd seen some concerning social media content and wanted to know if I needed counseling resources. My private struggle had become public entertainment, and they were franchising it. Michael started selling merchandise, t-shirts with slogans like, "Van life wasn't my choice," and "Ask me about my trust fund, just kidding." The profits, of course, went toward his spring break trip to Miami. They were having so much fun, they forgot to cover their tracks. That's when Uncle Marcus started reaching out. At first, it was just weird text messages from a number I didn't recognize. The cameras show everything. Some people aren't who they claim to be. Your living situation is temporary. Their problems are permanent. I thought it was spam or some kind of scam until he mentioned specific details about the family that only Marcus would know. Then he started sending me screenshots, not of my TikTok videos, but of security camera footage, images of Lisa and Derek meeting at expensive restaurants laughing about something on Derek's phone, timestamps showing them at his office late at night when the business was supposedly closed. Your aunt and stepfather think they're very clever, one message read. They're not. Another message included a photo of financial documents spread across Derek's desk. The text below it said, "Count the zeros. Ask yourself where this money comes from. Ask yourself who's really being tested here." He knew something they didn't. The smoking gun literally fell into my lap during what was supposed to be a peaceful family barbecue. I was sitting on Lisa's ridiculously expensive patio furniture, trying to avoid conversation, when she rushed inside to take a business call. In her hurry, she knocked her iPad off the table, and it landed screen up at my feet, still unlocked. I should have just handed it back, but the email subject line that was staring up at me read, "Derek, March transfers. Keep this private." My finger moved to the screen before my brain could stop it. The email chain between Lisa and Derek was like reading a crime novel, except these criminals were my family members. They'd been systematically embezzling money from Marcus's tech contracts, inflating invoices by 300%, creating fake vendor accounts with names like Secure Tech Solutions and Digital Defense Consulting, then funneling the excess into their personal accounts. The invoices were works of art and criminal creativity. A simple security camera installation that should have cost $15,000 was billed at $40,000. Network upgrades priced at $8,000 became $20,000 charges. Every single contract that went through Lisa's consulting business was inflated with the extra money disappearing into offshore accounts they'd opened in the Cayman Islands. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was finding their affair emails mixed in with the financial planning. Messages about meeting at hotels, laughing about how clueless Marcus was planning their life together once they'd stolen enough money to disappear. Derek was going to leave his wife. Lisa was going to divorce Marcus. They had a timeline steal $5 million total, then vanish to Costa Rica, where they'd already purchased property under fake names. I was looking at a $4.3 million theft in real time. The panic response was immediate and vicious. When I tried to confront Lisa privately about what I'd seen, she went into full damage control mode. Suddenly, I was the problem again. I was delusional, making up stories for attention, and probably having a mental breakdown from the stress of being homeless. "You're just jealous because your life is falling apart," Lisa hissed when I mentioned the emails. "This is exactly the kind of drama you always create. Derek was right. You're becoming dangerous. Maybe we need to have you committed for your own safety." Within hours, Derek was spreading rumors that I'd been acting erratically and making wild accusations. They started telling family members that I'd stolen Lisa's iPad and was now trying to blackmail them with fabricated evidence. Mom called to lecture me about destroying relationships with lies and burning bridges with the only family willing to help. Their desperation made them sloppy. They forgot that threatening to have someone committed requires documentation. They forgot that blackmail accusations require police reports. Most importantly, they forgot that every threat they made was being recorded by the very security system they'd been stealing from. They made one crucial mistake. That evening, Marcus appeared at my car window while I was parked behind a 24-hour diner, trying to figure out my next move. He tapped on the glass with one finger, calm as ever, and waited for me to roll it down. "Get in," he said, nodding toward his Tesla. We need to talk." The inside of his car looked like mission control. Multiple phones, a tablet, with feeds from what looked like security cameras covering every inch of Lisa's house, and a laptop displaying financial spreadsheets that made my head spin. This wasn't just surveillance. This was a comprehensive intelligence operation. "I know you found the emails," Marcus said without preamble. "I've been monitoring Lisa's devices for 3 months. I also know they're trying to paint you as unstable. They're not very creative. Derek used the same tactics when he embezzled from his previous employer." He pulled up surveillance footage that made my blood run cold. Derek and Lisa meeting at expensive restaurants, timestamp after timestamp of secret meetings, security camera records of them entering his office after hours to access his company's financial systems. But the most damning footage showed them laughing while watching my TikTok videos, planning how to use my homelessness as a distraction from their crimes. "The FBI has been building a case since December," Marcus continued, his voice eerily calm. "Your discovery of the iPad evidence was the final piece we needed. Every move they make now just provides more evidence of conspiracy fraud and witness intimidation." He'd been building a case for months. Marcus opened his laptop and showed me a surveillance operation that would have impressed the CIA. He had security cameras positioned at every angle of Lisa's house, Derek's office, their favorite restaurants, even the hotels where they conducted their affair. But more than that, he had digital forensics that tracked every email, every financial transaction, every phone call. "I started suspecting something was wrong 6 months ago, when Lisa's lifestyle suddenly exploded," Marcus explained, pulling up a timeline that looked like a criminal investigation. Designer handbags that cost more than most people's monthly salary, wine collections worth $50,000, jewelry purchases that required cash payments. When your income is part-time boutique commissions, that level of spending requires explanation. The security footage was devastating. Video of Derek accessing Marcus's company servers after hours downloading client contracts and inflating the numbers. Recordings of Lisa creating fake vendor invoices at her kitchen table, while Rebecca laughed in the background about Mom's business genius. Audio of them discussing which offshore accounts to use for different transactions. But the most damning footage was them watching my TikTok videos. Marcus had cameras in Lisa's living room, and he'd recorded dozens of hours of them, monitoring my social media mentions, planning new ways to humiliate me, treating my poverty like their personal entertainment empire. "They filmed you doing laundry and made jokes about whether you could afford fabric softener," Marcus said, his voice getting cold. "They placed bets on how long you could survive sleeping in your car before crawling back to family. Derek suggested they should hide your car keys as a social experiment." Every cruel laugh was recorded. The financial forensics were even more comprehensive. Marcus had hired a team of investigators who specialized in white-collar crime, and they'd unraveled a theft operation that spanned 3 years and multiple states. The $4.3 million I'd seen on the iPad was just the tip of the iceberg. Lisa and Derek had been systematically inflating every contract that went through Marcus's tech security business. A simple camera installation became a comprehensive security overhaul. Basic network maintenance transformed into enterprise-level cybersecurity upgrades. They'd created an entire ecosystem of fake vendors, shell companies, and inflated invoices. The money trail led everywhere. Derek's luxury cars, Lisa's house renovations, Rebecca's private university tuition. Michael's spring break trips, even the expensive restaurants where they planned their crimes. Every designer handbag, every bottle of wine, every laugh at my expense had been funded by stolen money. But here's the beautiful irony. They'd been using my homelessness as a distraction, while family members were focused on my failure and how much of a burden I was. Lisa and Derek were systematically looting Marcus's company. My poverty was the perfect cover for their wealth. They'd been stealing from Uncle Marcus to fund their cruelty. But here's what they never understood, Marcus continued, pulling up another screen that showed months of documentation about my daily routine. This wasn't just about catching thieves. This was a character test. He showed me surveillance footage of my daily life that I didn't even know existed. Me getting to work 30 minutes early every day, staying late to help customers declining offers to call in sick, even when I was exhausted. Security cameras at Target showed me returning money when cashiers made errors in my favor. Footage from the office building where I cleaned showed me working methodically professionally, never cutting corners, even when no one was watching. You've been working 60-hour weeks for months, sleeping in a car, eating one meal a day, and you never stole anything, never cheated anyone, never took advantage of a situation where you could have skimmed money or cut corners. Meanwhile, Lisa and Derek were living in luxury by stealing from me. Marcus had documentation proving that while my family mocked my work ethic, I was actually outperforming employees at companies that paid 3 times what I was making. Customer comment cards at Target consistently mentioned me by name for being helpful and honest. The cleaning company had written letters of recommendation based on my reliability. Your cousins posted videos making fun of your minimum wage mentality, Marcus said, showing me printouts of their social media posts. But you were demonstrating more integrity in 1 week than they'd shown in their entire lives. The test results were clear, while everyone assumed the poor homeless family member was the problem. I was actually the only one with genuine character. The wealthy, successful family members were the criminals. I was the only one who passed his test. The legal preparation was more sophisticated than anything I'd seen outside of crime dramas. Marcus had a team of FBI financial crime specialists, asset seizure experts, and corporate lawyers who'd been building an airtight case for months. We met at his security company headquarters, which looked like a cross between a tech startup and a federal command center. The timing has to be perfect, Agent Sarah Chen explained, spreading documentation across a conference table that could have hosted a United Nations meeting. We need Lisa and Derek to be present when we execute the arrest warrants, and we need witnesses to establish that they were spending stolen money on luxury items right up until the moment of arrest. Marcus had been tracking their spending patterns, and the numbers were obscene. In the past month alone, they'd dropped $15,000 on party planning, $8,000 on new furniture, and another $12,000 on what Lisa called birthday surprises for Michael. Every purchase was documented, photographed, and traced back to accounts funded by embezzled money. Your nephew's 18th birthday party is the perfect opportunity, Agent Chen continued. Public venue, multiple witnesses, live social media coverage, and both suspects celebrating with stolen money. The optics will be devastating for any potential defense. Michael's birthday party would be their last celebration. The beautiful irony was that while Marcus and the FBI were planning their takedown, Lisa and Derek were planning what they thought would be their greatest triumph. They'd decided to make Michael's party the most expensive, over-the-top celebration in the family's history. Lisa posted daily updates about the party preparations on Facebook, bragging about the $50,000 budget. The professional catering, the live DJ, the custom decorations that spelled out Michael's golden year in actual gold leaf. She hired a photographer, a videographer, and even arranged for local news coverage because she wanted the whole community to see their success. Meanwhile, Rebecca was creating a special TikTok series called How to Throw the Perfect Rich Kid Party, with behind-the-scenes content of the planning process. One video showed her and Michael laughing about how I probably couldn't even afford a birthday cake, while they sampled catering options that cost more per plate than I made in a week. The spending spree intensified as the party approached. Derek bought Michael a $35,000 car as a birthday surprise. Lisa purchased $8,000 worth of jewelry as party favors for the guests. They hired a party planner who specialized in celebrity-style events and paid extra for premium. Everything. Flowers flown in from Holland champagne that cost $300 per bottle, a DJ who usually worked for actual celebrities. They were spending money that wasn't theirs to celebrate. But while they were planning their lavish party, Marcus was planning my future. He'd moved me out of my car and into a furnished apartment near his office, not as charity, but as what he called practical preparation for your new role. "You've been tested for months under the worst possible circumstances," Marcus told me as we toured the office space that would become my workspace. "You showed integrity when you had nothing to gain from it. You worked hard when no one was watching. You told the truth when lying would have been easier. That's not common." The apartment was small but clean, with a desk where I could do my college work without using a car's dome light. Marcus had arranged for my remaining tuition to be paid not as a gift, but as an advance on my salary as his new operations manager. I wasn't sleeping in my car anymore. Michael's 18th birthday party was exactly the kind of ostentatious display that Lisa had been planning for months. The mansion was decorated like a Hollywood premiere, with gold balloons, professional lighting, and catering stations that looked like they belonged at a 5-star resort. Over 100 guests filled the backyard, including half the neighborhood Michael's entire high school class and several local business owners who'd been invited to witness the family's success. And Rebecca was live-streaming the entire event on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, providing running commentary about the epic rich kid party, while guests posed with the professional photographer Lisa had hired. The local news crew was setting up for what they thought would be a feel-good story about a successful local family celebrating their son's milestone birthday. Lisa moved through the crowd like she was hosting a charity gala, wearing a $5,000 dress and jewelry that cost more than most people's annual salaries. Derek stood beside the $35,000 BMW they'd given Michael, accepting congratulations from neighbors who assumed he was just really good at his insurance business. The irony was perfect. They were celebrating their criminal success in front of everyone they'd been trying to impress, having no idea that their victims were watching from inside the house. The FBI was waiting outside. At exactly 7:30 p.m., just as the DJ started playing Michael's special birthday song, Marcus stepped onto the small stage that had been set up for speeches. The crowd quieted down, expecting the usual uncle's birthday toast. Instead, Marcus connected his laptop to the party's professional sound system and began what could only be described as the most devastating PowerPoint presentation in family history. "Thank you all for coming to celebrate Michael's birthday," Marcus began, his voice carrying clearly through the speakers. "Before we continue the festivities, I wanted to share some interesting footage with everyone. I think you'll find it educational." The first video that appeared on the large screens they'd set up for the party showed Derek and Lisa at an expensive restaurant, toasting with champagne while laughing at something on Derek's phone. The audio was crystal clear. "Did you see how many views the homeless cousin video got today? Rebecca's follower count is through the roof." A murmur went through the crowd as people realized they were watching security footage of the hosts mocking a family member's homelessness. The next video showed Lisa creating fake invoices at her kitchen table while explaining to Derek how to inflate the numbers. "Marcus will never notice if we add an extra 30%, she said, signing documents with forged vendor information. "His company is making so much money, he doesn't even check the details." Then came the bank records displayed on the screens in clear, readable font. Account transfers showing exactly how much money had been stolen, which accounts it had gone to, and what luxury items had been purchased with the embezzled funds. The car Derek was standing next to, the jewelry Lisa was wearing, the very party they were attending. The crowd was getting restless with guests pulling out their phones to record what was happening. Rebecca kept her live stream running, not understanding that she was broadcasting her family's destruction to thousands of viewers in real time. "The total amount stolen from my company over the past 3 years," Marcus announced, "is $4.3 million. The money has been used to fund an affair between my wife and her stepbrother, purchase luxury items, and finance social media content mocking our homeless family member." That's when the handcuffs came out. FBI agents emerged from the crowd. They'd been posing as caterers and party staff for the past hour, documenting everything. Agent Chen approached Lisa, who was standing frozen in shock, still holding a glass of $300 champagne. "Lisa Henderson, you're under arrest for embezzlement, wire fraud, and conspiracy," Agent Chen announced clearly, her voice carrying through the party's sound system. "Derek Morrison, you're also under arrest on the same charges." The chaos that followed was spectacular. Lisa started screaming that this was all a misunderstanding and that Marcus was just jealous of our success. Derek tried to run, but was tackled by agents near the pool, sending several guests diving for cover. Mom, who had been watching from the sidelines, suddenly rushed forward with her own confession. "I knew about the affair," she shouted at anyone who would listen. "I've been helping them hide money in my accounts, but I never knew they were stealing. I thought Derek was just really good at his job." The guests were horrified, pulling out phones to record the arrests, while the news crew captured everything for the 11 o'clock broadcast. Rebecca's live stream was going viral in real time, with thousands of viewers watching a rich kid's birthday party turn into a federal crime scene. Michael stood next to his $35,000 stolen car, crying as he realized his entire lifestyle had been built on his parents' crimes. The golden birthday decorations looked pathetic against the backdrop of FBI agents and police cars filling the driveway. Uncle Marcus walked over to where I was standing with Agent Chen, watching the controlled chaos of justice being served. He put a hand on my shoulder and looked me in the eye. "You passed," he said simply. The legal consequences were swift and comprehensive. Lisa and Derek both received 7-year federal sentences for embezzlement, wire fraud, and conspiracy. The judge was particularly harsh during sentencing, noting that they'd systematically stolen from a family member while simultaneously mocking and humiliating another family member's poverty. All their assets were seized: the mansion, the luxury cars, the jewelry, even the furniture they'd bought with stolen money. Civil suits followed the criminal convictions. Marcus's company filed for recovery of the full $4.3 million plus damages, while I filed my own suit for emotional distress and defamation related to the TikTok harassment campaign. The courts ordered full restitution, though it would take years for them to pay back what they'd stolen. Mom got probation for her role in hiding money, but she lost her house and savings in the asset seizure. Michael and Rebecca, despite not being directly involved in the embezzlement, lost their college funds and had to start over financially. They lost everything they'd stolen. Meanwhile, my life transformed in ways I'd never imagined possible. Marcus had meant what he said about my new role. I became operations manager of his tech security company, overseeing the same contracts that Lisa and Derek had been stealing from. My salary was more than I'd made in 3 years of working 2 jobs. The company paid for my remaining college tuition, and Marcus helped me transfer to a 4-year university to finish my engineering degree. The apartment he'd provided wasn't temporary housing. It was mine permanently, a clean, safe space where I could study, sleep, and plan a future that actually belonged to me. I had health insurance, a retirement account, and something I'd never experienced before: financial security. I was never sleeping in my car again. The most satisfying part was watching the complete reversal of family dynamics. Rebecca, who'd built her social media following by mocking my homelessness, started reaching out for help finding entry-level jobs. Michael, who'd lost his college fund to his parents' crimes, asked if I could put in a good word for him at Marcus's company. Even Mom, humbled by her probation and financial ruin, began calling to apologize for years of treating me like the family failure while enabling actual criminals. The test had revealed everyone's true character, and now the results were permanent. Turns out character can't be faked or bought.